All right, let's get started here. Let me see. Just get situated here, everyone. Give me 1 second. All right. All right. Let's get started. So, give me 1 second. Sorry, my fiance just got on. All right, let's get into it. Uh, how's everyone doing tonight? Good. Cool. What the heck is going on with the market? Um, that's a pretty big move for the Asian session. So, it's just going to be a little trade recap for the trades that I gave out on stream earlier this morning. I just want to go over it, review my thought process, what I learned, what I was looking at, and how we can do better tomorrow. So, we'll start on NQ. First trade that I took was on a eval, which was pretty early on in the stream, and that was this guy right here, as you can see. And my thought process on this move was just a quick scalp after we failed to push higher, seeing this long wick on the 1 minute. With the opening moves, it can be very volatile, very violent. So I was just trying to get a little piece of the pie down to this level of support that we can see, that I can see. We'll draw that out for everyone. So if we look here, this area was a level of resistance that turned into support to push the market higher. So generally we'll want to see price come back down and test that area before deciding what to do next. And that's all that I was looking for on that account. Let's see if I can get that account pulled up here. Why does it do this? It doesn't want to show me my take profit in trading view doesn't want to show me the entry exit on this, but you can run the stream back on my Twitch and look at the entry and exit live. I need to figure out how to get the previous positions to display properly because they are not wanting to show up. All right. Anyways, the next trade that I took was on ES. Oh, no, lie. The next trade idea that I took was on NASDAQ, with the high and the low being set for the 15-minute range. This trade, I didn't take it on any of my accounts, but I put it on the chart because it is something that I like to look at. We fail to push above the 15-minute opening range high, and we're just kind of hanging out in the middle. With the way price was moving. Let's go look at it on the 5-minute. So on the 5-minute, we were sitting underneath the 200 SMA. Generally, when price is below 200 and the 20 is below the 200 as well, we're looking for price to go down. So I threw this trade idea up on the chart, looking to catch a move down to opening range low. As you can see, that played out for 145 points. Again, didn't take that on any of my accounts, but it's good to get some mental reps in to practice, just getting a feel for what price does. NASDAQ loves to do its own thing, so this is helpful. It's a helpful tool for me. At the same time I had that trade on my chart, I decided to take a long on ES. Let me hide this real quick. Trying to catch a breakout above the opening range high, 15-minute opening range high. Right as I entered the trade, right before I entered on my funded account, I said, we got to be patient. I got to be patient, especially with the opening range breakout moves. If we see price fail to hold above that opening range high, chances are we're going to go right down to the opening range low. And if we look on the 5-minute, where the heck am I? Oh, that was yesterday. So for today, if we look on the 5-minute, there was no clear closure above the opening range high. On the 1-minute, there's a lot of noise. It can distract you from what is actually going on with price. So here I jumped the gun, looking at the 1-minute, entered along, got stopped out. Whereas if I would have waited and be more patient, hence this clown emoji, I would have seen that we wicked above the previous 5-minute candle and ended up closing back into the 15-minute opening range. That would signal to me that we're going down. So let me get myself off the chart here. And also went over this in the stream on my Twitch. If we hide that just to get it out of the way. There was a very good fib geometry setup that was presented on ES that, again, if I was more patient, I would have felt comfortable entering this trade. Fib geometry, you can look up, the criteria for that on Stoic Trader, his X and YouTube. But concept is that you enter on the 50% of the second pullback, and as you can see here, from the third anchor point to the low after we breached the 100% extension, we retraced to the 50% on the second pullback and went right to take profit at the 261.8 extension, which also lines up with there's a lot of confluences stacked here. The 15-minute opening range low, previous day low. Oh wait, no, that wasn't. Yeah, that was previous day low. I haven't gotten that updated yet. And then the low of the first hourly candles range. So there was a good fib geometry setup that would have been a one and done for me. But it is what it is. Getting those mental reps, identifying the setups, watching them play out. That just only helps with the psychology behind actually getting into the market and putting the risk on. Knowing that when you see those moves, you can trust yourself to follow your setup, follow your plan, and be along for the ride. So this setup on the back to NASDAQ, this setup I didn't take, this setup I didn't take, the second short position here. This would have been a good area to add into this position that I have marked, or if I wasn't in a position, actually get into the position and write it down to the 15-minute opening range low. So that the 3 solid trades right off the open. Didn't get into these two. Got into this one with an eval, made $400. So that ended up being all good. Now we get into the learning lesson. So I'm going to hide this one because this is the correct SBS setup that I had drawn out on the 5-minute. But I'd like to go over what I was looking at and why this failed on the 1-minute for a long that I got into on my funded account. So again, this is the SBS setup. This is something that Stoic teaches as part of his concepts, something that I'm trying to refine. And this is a very good example of me refining that strategy, learning how to properly identify those setups so that I'm not, getting into a false SBS setup. So as you can see, SBS is counting to 4 or 5 if the equal low or high presents itself. And here I jumped the gun and marked this out as 1, this red candle here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I entered late, 56, with the target being the opening range low, the 15-minute opening range low. My original stop loss was set below the 4. And on my stream, live, I said, okay, when leg 3 forms on the SBS, the general rule of thumb is that leg 3 will come down to take out leg 2, because leg 2 is where people will generally buy or sell and then, place their stop loss below that low. Okay, that's cool. So leg 4 that I have drawn out did that, and it pushed up. So that gave me, basically a false positive that we were going to keep going higher. But the one thing I didn't account for is that the leg 1 I had marked out didn't take any, or didn't sweep any high, or didn't go, above any of the internal highs that we had made before. So I had this marked out at 734. That's the 1 that I had marked out. When in reality, delete this. If we zoom out to the 5-minute, which is why I'm trying to get better and more consistent at using the 5-minute time frame instead of the 1-minute, because of all of the noise and all the confusion that it can cause. If we zoom out to the 5-minute, we throw this back on there. What happened? Exactly what I said. Generally happens on an SBS, happened, and I was along for the ride there to get stopped out. So 98 was what I moved my stop loss up to, just to limit my loss. If it did take me out, that put me at my max risk that I'm willing to lose for the day. But if we look at this here, let me get some, make this easier to see. This high of this candle right here right? Price came up and pushed past that high. So that is number one. Number two is what I initially had my number four as on the 1 minute. Number two came up, pushed above the high that one made, right? So there's number three. And what did number three do? What did the three leg do? It came down, swiped the number two leg, and pushed back up because number three comes down, swipes out number two. For everyone who bought over here, let me just hide that. For everyone who bought over here, let's say off the, I don't know why you would buy off, just for example's sake, off the close of that 1 minute, for people who bought leg two, you know, with their take profit up here, me, price came down and swept that. What is that? That's 9 points. I already know. I counted it 3 times. That's 9 points. That price came down, swiped out, didn't break the low of the session, and then it pushed up. And what did price do after this happened? After the sweep of two, it just went up, right? And if you were on the Twitch stream earlier, you would have seen that I locked my account right after I lost this trade. So let's get that out of here, put the original position back on. So this is what the correct SBS setup looks like on, I'm going to get rid of the 5 just for example's sake. This is what the correct SBS setup looks like on the 1 minute chart after I plotted it on the 5 minute chart. Swept the high, came down. You know, number 3 would be right here in the moment because obviously this hasn't happened yet. But when price fails to push below leg 2, that's why leg 3 is up here. And then what did price do? It did its thing, came down, swiped 2, went up, and yeah, it looks like shit on the 1 minute here, but on the 5 minute it's a little bit nicer, and price just went up, and I was sitting here with my account locked, which is all right. I lost $200 on the day on my funded account. That's the max I'm willing to risk per day on that account. So it's a losing day, red day, but there's, what is today? There's three more trading days this week, and you know I can get that back. It's no sweat. But the read was right, the execution was wrong. You know, that's why I say I'm refining the SBS setup, because that was picture perfect. I have trouble locating those and spotting them clearly, but this was a perfect example, learning example for me to see that happen in real time and know what to expect when that comes across the chart again. I ended up taking another trade on one of my other evals. Let's see if that one will pull up here and show the actual execution marks. The heck? Why? Okay, so it's not showing me, but the trade was, once we started pushing back up, I entered pretty much right on the break of previous weekly low, the little consolidation here, and I wrote it up to 15-minute opening range high, or opening range low, sorry. Stop loss below that. So that was a 1.5 risk to reward trade. And, I just wanted to get, again, my piece of the pie and get out, because NASDAQ has a good way of punishing people who overstay their welcome. I could have re-entered more trades, re-entered more. I watched this whole move, but I didn't get into anything because, that just puts yourself at risk of losing money, even though sure I could have made a buttload of money on this trade. I also could have lost a lot of money. So, good trades this morning. Even though this was a loss, I'm very happy with how I managed it. I moved my stop up, limited my risk, and it is what it is. You get stopped out sometimes. For me, it used to happen a lot more frequently where I'd get stopped out, price goes up to my take profit, but I'm learning to be more patient and trust the setups, trust my gut, trust my gut. Put that on here. Because again, this was just a trade idea, but that's 145 points with an additional 70 points if I were to add, another contract, because I'm usually entering with one micro. So 2 micros at 145 points, probably with an average of like 72 with where this entry was and the other entry. That would have been a solid trade. But again, that's fine. It is what it is. You're going to use the 5-minute chart more. Yes, I'm going to use the 5-minute chart more to validate my setups, and then the 1 minute for entry. But it's tough. People, myself especially, you want to trade. You see a setup, you want to trade it. That's what I did this morning. Paid the price by 9 points and then went up. But a good habit that I'm forming is locking my account after I take 2 losses, especially on my funded accounts. Because generally, what I would have done in my old days, I would have started revenge trading and I would have seen this violent move down, would have entered a short right here at the bottom, with the take profit down there, stop loss above here, and I would have gotten stopped out for another 111 points. Would have seen this move up, would have entered a long right here, stop loss below this wick, would have gotten stopped out for 86 points, and then before I know it, my account would have been gone. So forming and practicing those new habits of locking the account out after my daily loss limit, personal daily loss limit has been hit. Can't get upset about that. So we're just going to keep pushing. Tomorrow's a new day. The goal is to survive the market and live to trade another day. You don't have to make all of your money in one day. You don't have to pass your eval in one day. Don't have to get a payout in one day. Uh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So sticking to your rules is a bigger win than actually winning a trade, in my opinion. And I did just that this morning. So those are the trades. Trade setups. I'll go back to ES just to show you this. The loss I took on the break of the 15-minute opening range high, followed by a beautiful fib geometry setup that ended up playing out for 19 points in profit, and then some, targeting previous weekly low. But that is the recap for today. I'm going to be journaling these, adding them to the logbook, and the fact that I walked away with my funded account intact is really what matters to me. I ended up making like $700 across my evals today, and I was pissed that I lost this trade. So it just goes to show that perspective is everything. So $200 loss on the funded account is much better than a blown funded account. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna call it a night. Get out of the charts, reset. Have that mental reset so I'm not fatigued, having analysis paralysis. We'll see what the overnight session does for us. It's already moved pretty crazy. And then I will be back at it again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. So I was streaming on Twitch this morning. Going to be streaming on YouTube going forward. So yeah, if y'all enjoy this, enjoy the stream. Just like, you know, keep chatting it up, give me a subscription, and let's move on to tomorrow. Conquer the market. All right. Have a good night.